Story 1. Manufacturing Madness.
I've been a certified pharmacy technician for 6 years. Most people think my job is just counting pills by 5 and slapping a sticker on a bottle. And honestly, for 90% of the industry, your CVS, your Walgreens, your local grocery store pharmacy, that's exactly what it is. It's retail with a chemistry degree requirement. But when you work inpatient, specifically in a long-term mental health facility, the job is different. You're the date keeper for chemical restraints. You're handling the heavy stuff, the stuff that keeps the voices quiet. I took the job at the Oakwood Behavioral Health Institute because the pay was absurd. It was nearly double the hourly rate of the retail chains. Oakwood is a private facility tucked away in the woodlands. The money was good, but the atmosphere was heavy. The air always smelled of floor wax and that distinct metallic scent of industrial laundry. My boss, Dr. Sanders, was the chief of psychiatry, a celebrity in the field. He had written 3 books on aggressive intervention in treatment-resistant schizophrenia. He was a very calm kind of guy. He never raised his voice and smiled a lot, but his eyes were always flat, like a shark analyzing movement in the water. The weirdness started about 3 months into my employment. Sanders introduced a new protocol for Ward 4. Ward 4 was the high security wing. These weren't the depressed housewives. These were the patients with histories of violence, severe delusions, and self-harm. Sanders announced he was conducting a clinical trial for a new antipsychotic called XZ. It's a breakthrough, he told me one morning while I was stocking the automated dispensing cabinet. It targets the dopamine receptors without the lethargy associated with traditional lithium or clozapine treatments. I want all 10 patients in Ward 4 switched to XZ effective immediately. Start the new course, 500 milligrams. I'm a tech, not a doctor. I don't argue with those who know better. So I just nodded and inputted the orders. The pills arrived in bulk containers directly from a private lab, not our usual wholesaler. They were distinct, large oblong capsules, crimson color. The first 2 weeks were chaotic. I didn't see the patients often. I stayed in the pharmacy, but the nurses' break room was the hub of gossip. "It's a war zone down there," Sarah said, a night shift nurse, brewing coffee. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "It's not side effects," she whispered, looking around to make sure Sanders wasn't nearby. "It's like there aren't medicated at all. It's like withdrawal." I told Sanders, but he just writes it down in his little black notebook and smiles. He says it's purging the toxicity. That phrase stuck with me, purging the toxicity. The incident that changed everything happened on a Tuesday night, about a month into the trial. It was 11:30 p.m. I was alone in the pharmacy, closing up the nightly inventory. I was tired, running on autopilot. I reached for the large stock bottle of XZ on the top shelf to fill the cart for the morning rounds. My hand slipped. The glass bottle hit the linoleum floor. It cracked. Hundreds of crimson capsules scattered everywhere, rolling under the cabinets, bouncing off my shoes. I grabbed the broom and dustpan, and as I was sweeping them up, my boot crushed one of the capsules. Usually, when you crush a pill, especially a high-potency antipsychotic, you get a very specific smell. It's bitter, chemical, acrid. It smells like chalk and sulfur. I sniffed the air. Nothing. I frowned. I crouched down and picked up the crushed remains of the capsule. The red gelatin shell had split open, revealing a white crystalline powder inside. It looked like sugar. You obviously should never taste the inventory, but my curiosity was overriding my training. I wet the tip of my gloved finger, touched the powder, and touched it to my tongue. Sweet, sickly sweet. It wasn't a complex chemical compound. It wasn't a bitter alkaloid. It was sucrose, table sugar. My heart skipped a beat. Dr. Sanders wasn't giving the most dangerous patients in the hospital a breakthrough drug. He was giving them a placebo. And worse, he had taken them off their antipsychotics. What the nurses were seeing wasn't a side effect of XZ. It was severe, acute withdrawal combined with the return of unmitigated psychosis. He was deliberately letting them go insane. I stood up, my mind racing. Why? Was it insurance fraud? Was he billing for expensive meds and using sugar to pocket the difference? It seemed too petty for a man as rich as Sanders. I needed to know what was happening in Ward 4. The pharmacy has access to the internal hospital network, allegedly to check patient locations for medication delivery. But if you know the admin passwords, which I did because the IT guy, Dave, left it on a sticky note under the keyboard, you can access the security feed. I logged in and pulled up the cameras for Ward 4. The hallway was quiet, but the individual room feeds were a horror show. In room 4A, Mr. Henderson, the former chess champion who suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, was pacing in circles. He had torn his fingernails off, scratching at the walls. He was screaming silently at the camera. In room 4C, young woman Clara was curled in a fetal position in the corner. She was rocking back and forth so violently she was slamming her head against the padding. But the most chilling thing wasn't the patients. On the feed for the hallway, I saw Sanders. It was nearly midnight. He shouldn't be there. He was standing outside room 4A, looking through the observation window. He wasn't rushing in to sedate Mr. Henderson. He wasn't calling for orderlies. He was holding a tablet up to the glass. I zoomed in on the feed. The quality was poor, but the angle was right. He was recording them. He moved from room to room. He would tap on the glass, agitate them, wait for them to lunge or scream, and then film it. I watched him enter room 4E. That was Thomas. Thomas was a giant of a man, institutionalized for nearly beating a neighbor to death during a delusional episode 2 years ago. On his meds, Thomas was a gentle giant who liked watercolor painting. Sanders entered the room. Thomas was cowering on the bed. Sanders said something. There was no audio, but I saw Thomas recoil. Sanders stepped closer. He poked Thomas in the chest. He was goading him. Thomas snapped. He roared and lunged at Sanders. Sanders didn't flinch. He sidestepped with eerie grace, holding the tablet steady, filming the massive man thrashing around the room, destroying everything. I realized then what this was. This wasn't research. This wasn't a clinical trial. Dr. Sanders was manufacturing real horror. He was stripping these people of their sanity, inducing violent breaks, and filming the results. Snuff films, maybe for the dark web. Real madness, unscripted, unfiltered. I had to get out. I had to call the police. I reached for my cell phone to dial 911, but then I stopped. Who would they believe? A pharmacist who broke a bottle and tasted the unknown pill, or the renowned Dr. Sanders? I needed proof. I needed the pills. I grabbed a handful of the XZ capsules and shoved them into my pocket. Then I grabbed a sample vial and scooped up some of the powder from the floor. I would take this to an independent lab. I quickly swept up the rest of the mess, trying to make it look like nothing happened. I was about to log off the computer when a notification popped up on the screen. System override. Admin access detected. My stomach dropped. Source, Terminal 1, Pharmacy. Viewer, Chief of Medicine. He was watching me watch him. The phone on the pharmacy wall rang. The sound was so loud in the quiet room that I actually jumped. I was horrified. If I didn't answer, he'd know I was panicked. If I did answer, I had to play it cool. I picked up the receiver. Pharmacy, this is Mike.
Mike, you're working late.
Just catching up on inventory, Dr. Sanders. Had a spill, cleaning it up.
A spill?
There was a pause.
Did you break the XZ, Mike?
He knew. He had cameras in the pharmacy. Of course he did. He probably watched the footage of me tasting sugar. Just a few pills, I lied. I'm logging the waste now.
Don't worry about the paperwork,
Sanders said.
Why don't you come upstairs to my office? I have the rest of the supply here. You can restock it tonight so we don't fall behind.
I really need to get home, Dr. Sanders. My shift ended an hour ago.
Mike?
It wasn't a request anymore.
Come upstairs, now. We need to discuss the composition of the inventory.
He hung up. I stood there, the receiver humming in my hand. He knew that I knew. If I went upstairs, I wasn't coming back down. Patients disappear in places like this all the time.
Transferred to another facility. Ran away. Suicide. I grabbed my bag. I didn't bother locking the pharmacy door. I ran. I sprinted down the hallway, swiping my badge at the employee exit.
Access denied. The red light blinked. He had locked me in. Come on, I muttered, swiping again. Nothing. I heard the elevator ding down the hall. The doors opened. I didn't look back to see who it was. I bolted toward the loading dock. The loading dock doors were usually manual release for fire safety. I crashed through the double doors into the laundry sorting room. It was dark, piles of soiled linens towering like white ghosts. I scrambled over a cart and hit the bar on the rear exit. It opened. The cold night air hit me like a physical blow. I ran to my car, fumbling with my keys. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped them in the snow. Mike! I looked back. Sanders was standing in the open doorway of the loading dock. He wasn't running. He was holding his phone up, filming me. You're making a scene, Mike. Paranoid delusions are a symptom, you know? I found my keys, jammed them into the ignition, and tore out of the parking lot. I didn't stop driving until I was 3 towns over. I went straight to the state police. I gave them the pills. I gave them the powder. I told them everything. They raided Oakwood 2 days later. But here's the thing about guys like Sanders. They are smart. When the police arrived, the pharmacy was spotless. The XZ stock in the safe, it tested as a legitimate, albeit generic, antipsychotic. The sugar pills were gone. The logs I saw on the computer, deleted. The security footage of him tormenting the patients replaced with looped footage of empty hallways. The police questioned Sanders. He told them I was a disgruntled employee who had been stealing narcotics, which he planted in my locker, and that I had suffered a mental break. He showed them a video he took of me running through the parking lot screaming, looking terrified of nothing. He's been under a lot of stress, Mike, Sanders told the press. We hope he gets the help he needs. I wasn't charged, mostly because the drugs in my locker were old and the quantities were small. But I lost my license. I lost my career. And now I'm powerless against a crazy doctor who shatters human minds for sport, filming their manufactured madness for a dark web audience that pays to watch them rot. Story 2. We Need a Morning Crisis. All the names in the story are changed to keep privacy. I'm an HVAC technician, dealing with ventilation systems for 15 years. You learn a lot about a building when you're crawling through its guts. You see the shortcuts the original contractors took, the dead rats drying out in the intake vents, and the lost items that slipped through the cracks. But working in a hospital is different. The air handling systems are massive, complex beasts. They have to be. You've got negative pressure rooms for infectious diseases, positive pressure rooms for immunocompromised patients, and massive filtration units to keep the air sterile. When you're up in the ceiling tiles or navigating the walk-in ducts, the hospital sounds different. It's a low, constant hum of machinery, punctuated by the rhythmic whoosh of pneumatic tubes and the muffled, distorted voices of the people below. You're right on top of them, separated by maybe an inch of acoustic tile and sheet metal, but they never look up. That's how I found myself in the crawl space above the pediatric intensive care unit at St. Mary's Hospital on a Tuesday night. We had a contract to upgrade the HEPA filtration dampers in the West Wing. It was a night shift only job because the administration didn't want us hauling ladders and ductwork through the hallways while families were visiting during the day. It was just me and my apprentice Davy, but I sent Davy to the truck to grab a saw around 2 a.m. I was alone in the ceiling void, lying on a catwalk, tightening a flange on a VAV box. Directly below me was room 203. I knew room 203 because everyone knew room 203. It was the sad room. A 6-year-old boy named Leo had been in and out of the intensive care for 3 months with a mysterious recurring sepsis. Every time the doctors thought they had the infection beat, his vitals would crash again. I'd seen his mother in the hallway earlier that night. She was a petite woman, always dressed impeccably. She looked exhausted but brave, always holding a coffee cup, smiling sadly at the nurses, thanking them for their hard work. The staff loved her. I'd heard the head nurse, Brenda, tell another nurse that Mrs. Vanderwall was a saint for handling this with so much grace. From my perch on the catwalk, I could look down through the air grill. It's a slated vent about 2 feet by 2 feet. If you get the angle right, you can see a good chunk of the room below. I wasn't trying to spy. I was just waiting for Davy and staring blankly at the slice of the room visible through the grate. The room was dim, lit only by the blue glow of the monitors and a small reading lamp. I could see the bed, the tangle of tubes, and Leo's small, pale form under the sheets. Mrs. Vanderwall was sitting in the sleeper chair next to the bed. She was on her phone. Sound travels strangely in ducts. It can be like a tin can telephone. Sometimes it's muffled, but if you're near the vent, it can be crystal clear.
No, I haven't posted the update yet,
she was saying. Her voice was different. It wasn't the soft, trembling voice she used with the nurses. It was sharp, businesslike.
I'm waiting for the engagement numbers to peak. If I post at 3 a.m., nobody sees it. I need a morning crisis.
I frowned, shifting my weight on the metal grating. A morning crisis? She hung up the phone and tossed it onto the chair. Then she stood up and walked over to the bed. I watched through the slats as she leaned over her son. "Mommy." Leo's voice was barely a whisper. It broke my heart just hearing it. "My tummy hurts."
I know, baby,
she said, but she didn't stroke his hair. She didn't hold his hand. She was rummaging through her oversized designer purse on the bedside table. "Am I getting better?" Leo asked. Mrs. Vanderwall pulled something out of her bag. It was a small plastic syringe, not a medical one from the hospital supply. It looked like something you'd use to give a dog liquid medicine. She unscrewed the cap of a small water bottle she had brought in.
You know the deal, Leo,
she said. Her tone was chillingly flat.
You need to get sicker, baby. If you get better, the prayers stop. And if the prayers stop, Mommy doesn't get the help she needs.
I froze. My wrench felt heavy and cold in my hand. I stopped breathing, terrified that the sound of my exhale would echo down the vent. "I don't want the medicine," Leo whimpered. "It burns."
It's not medicine, silly. It's the cleanser. It cleans out the bad bugs.
I watched, paralyzed, as she took the syringe and drew up a small amount of clear liquid from the bottle. She didn't put it in his mouth. She reached for his central line, the IV port that went directly to his chest. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to bang on the ceiling, to yell, to drop through the tiles and stop her. But I was frozen by the sheer audacity of it. I was a guy in a dirty uniform in a ceiling. She was the saint of the PICU. Who would believe me? I did the only thing I could think of. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it through the grate, which would have been a disaster. I managed to open the camera app and switch it to video. I pressed the lens as close to the slats as I could without blocking the light. On my screen, the image was grainy but clear enough. I recorded her uncapping the port on his central line.
Just a little bit tonight,
she whispered, injecting the fluid.
Just enough to spike a fever for the morning rounds.
Leo flinched in his sleep, a small pained gasp escaping his lips. "Shh," she hissed.
Don't wake up the nurses. You want Mommy to be happy, don't you?
She capped the line, wiped it down with an alcohol swab from the bedside table. Ironic, careful sterility while poisoning him, and hid the syringe back in her purse. Then she sat back in the chair, picked up her phone, and opened what looked like Instagram. She snapped a selfie holding his hand, making a sad, teary face. I stopped recording. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I had it. I had the proof. I crawled backward along the catwalk, moving as fast as I could without making noise. I met Davy coming up the access ladder about 50 feet away. "Got the saw, boss," Davy said, grinning. "Get it up," I said, my voice trembling. "We're done. Get down." I practically jumped down the ladder. I didn't go back to the truck. I went straight to the security office on the first floor. It was a glass-walled room near the ER entrance. The guy on duty was a heavyset man named Miller. I knew him from previous jobs. We usually exchanged pleasantries about football. "Miller," I said, bursting in. I was sweating, covered in dust from the crawl space. "You need to see this, right now." Miller's face went slack. "What?" "Watch." I pressed play. We watched the video together in silence. The audio was faint, but you could clearly see her injecting the unknown fluid into her central line. When the video ended, Miller didn't jump up. He didn't grab his radio. He didn't call the police. He sat back in his chair and rubbed his face with both hands. He looked tired. "Miller, call the cops. That kid is going to go into septic shock or something," I yelled. Miller looked at me, then at the phone, then back at me. He stood up, walked over to the door, and locked it. "You sent this to anyone else?" "No, I just took it 5 minutes ago. Why are you locking the door? We need to get up there." Miller sighed. "Give me the phone." "What? No, call the police." "Give me the phone." His voice wasn't friendly anymore. It was the voice of a man doing a job he hated. I took a step back. "Miller, what the hell?" "Look," Miller said, lowering his voice. "That woman, that's Mrs. Vanderwall."
I know her name. She's killing her kid. Her husband is Charles Vanderwall, Miller said, as if that explained everything. He owns the construction firm that built the West Wing. He's the chairman of the donor board. So, that gives her the right to murder her son? Miller walked around the desk. He was a big guy, much bigger than me. It's not murder. It's a complex situation. We've had suspicions. The head of pediatrics knows. Risk management knows. My jaw dropped. The doctors know? They suspect. But if they accuse a donor's wife of medical child abuse and they're wrong, the hospital loses funding. The lawsuits would bankrupt this place. Miller snatched the phone from my hand and shoved me back against the wall hard enough to knock the wind out of me. He looked down at the screen. He tapped a few times. I watched, helpless, as he went into my gallery. Delete. Recently deleted. Delete. He handed the phone back to me. It's gone. And CloudSync is blocked on our guest Wi-Fi, isn't it? He was right. The signal in the basement security office was dead zones for data, and I was on the internal guest network. Why? I asked, my voice breaking. Because my pension is tied to this hospital, Miller said, not meeting my eyes. And because you don't go to war with the Vanderwalls, not unless you want to never work in this state again. He unlocked the door. Get your tools, get your boy, get off the property. I'll tell maintenance you got sick. Don't come back. I stood there for a second, staring at him. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream, but I thought about my own kids at home. I thought about my mortgage, and I saw the gun on Miller's belt. I walked out. I grabbed Davy, who was confused as hell, and we loaded the truck in silence. I didn't sleep that night. I checked the news every hour for the next week. 4 days later, I saw it, a post on Facebook shared by a friend of a friend. Rest in peace, Warrior Leo. After a long, brave battle with a rare autoimmune disorder, our little angel gained his wings this morning. His mother, the strongest woman we know, was by his side until the very end. The photo showed Mrs. Vanderwall holding the dead boy's hand, looking devastated. The post had 45,000 likes. 2 weeks later, she launched the Leo Vanderwall Foundation to raise awareness for children's health issues. They raised $3 million in the first month. I still have nightmares about the sound of that syringe hissing. But the worst part isn't the memory of the injection. The worst part is knowing that in a building full of doctors, nurses, and security guards, people sworn to protect life, the only person who tried to save Leo was the guy in the ceiling, and I failed. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also send your stories to the email in the description.